Hello, I'm Joseph, and this is the KLP1's final review. It took so long because I'll talk about it a little bit, but do not get this printer. Don't get this printer. It's not worth your money. Even if you think you're saving money, don't get it because it has nothing to do with this printer, by the way. It has everything to do with the company. I don't think they have the capacity to operate at a functional state. I don't even know how they even got this printer out. By the way, now there's 3 versions of this printer, so good luck on that. Um, I just feel like the company is completely incompetent in making something that's designed well and then providing the necessary support for it. And the reason why I say that is when I first bought this, my acrylic panel came broken. I reached out to them. Very quickly, they responded. And obviously, if you're spending something on their best printer that they just released or re-released for their second version, they're going to be on top of it. But every other subsequent email, things like tracking numbers, things like asking questions about replacement parts, all that, terrible experiences with them to the point where I'm either waiting a month to get a response from them or I'm not getting a response from them at all for multiple attempts. I can't recommend that for this reason. It's not a bad printer, it's just a bad company. On top of that, the logistics of getting some of these replacement parts is asinine, really dumb. So, for example, I had to get a new print head. I'm not going to go too much into it, but basically this happened, and that was my fault. 4 weeks to get it. The printhead on the website was only one type of printhead. It was for apparently the first version, and I have the second version or variant of this, which means that their little head thing came with a terminal connector that doesn't fit in the original circuit board, and I got the first generation circuit board that came with the printhead, which doesn't work with this wire. Anyways, to go down a long rabbit hole, whole thing. I waited a week to get a response of, hey, you guys don't offer the printhead I need. Hey, you guys don't even offer the ceramic heater that I need. You don't offer any of the parts for the second version on your website. Where can I buy this at? A week goes by, nothing from them. And it's a simple question. It's a simple question of like, hey, I want to give you more money. Can you please tell me where I can buy this at? And they never responded. So I instead went to AliExpress, ordered it, and that was a mistake. Anyways, a mistake has happened because I had to buy the head. 6 weeks or 4 weeks. Another week goes by. 5 weeks. 6 weeks to get the ceramic heater. 6 weeks. 6 weeks to get the. I can't repeat this enough. 6 weeks to get the ceramic heater. I'm now at 11 weeks. I get the part. I start putting it together. I do all this testing, and I leave it for next week because the reason why is now the induction probe is not working, and I use the induction probe with that older printhead that they gave, and I'm trying to change clipper and go all this other stuff, and I'm just spending 4 or 5 hours on the weekend. I'm like, I can't do this, man. I need a break from this printer. So I wait till the next weekend, and I just ripped out their induction probe and put on the one that came with my original printer. Worked fine. So effing hell, man. It was a lot. It was a very frustrating experience for this. Now, put insult to injury between the customer support and the logistics. Another problem, I think I mentioned this in my initial review, is that they're using an older distribution to run their circuit board stuff. It is Debian 10. Debian 10 has died. It is no longer being updated, no security updates, which is fine, but it makes an issue because they changed the repository links. Debian themselves make it really easy. You just change .deb to .archive in the repository list. And the only reason I'm talking about this is if you want to add a camera, you need to add the camera module thing or package, and that will not install because all the other packages are now broken. None of the links will work. You can't update, you can't upgrade, you can't install any packages on the actual system because all the links are broken. So I got Debian fixed, but Armbian is another bit of this that I have yet figured out the correct URL for, the correct, because they have an archive version, but it's per board. It's not per distribution. So, and I haven't found the maker board that this has in its underneath here, the main board here. So I'm just like grasping at straws to figure out what I can do because I at least want to have one last update because if you put this on a network, public network, you're asking for trouble. Any security issues that are happening now with this is going to be more easily hacked. Things like SSH are going to be more easily hacked, that type of stuff. So it's just a major concern if you're trying to do tweaks and mods to the Clipper. And they still have not provided a way to upgrade Clipper, still Clipper 11, which is fine. But if you try to upgrade your distribution from Debian 10 to maybe 11 or even 12, you need to recompile Clipper. It can't work just magically like that. And you can't do that because there's no way to recompile it. So you're stuck with Debian 10, or Buster is what the name of it is. Okay, so with that said, I'm gonna go over the mods that I've done with this. And then just one little quick warning as well for one thing that you're gonna maybe print. So first thing was riser. I changed out the riser to this one. I love it a lot. It lets me trace in an LED light really cheap. I got it for like $5 off Amazon, and it's just USB. It goes onto the side here, really cool. And then obviously their side spool mounted. I thought this was going to save me the trouble having to go to the back. It doesn't. The filament sensor is back there, and they don't give you any way to actually join either the PTF E-tubes together. So you have to use the filament sensor, unless you're going to buy a separate coupler to couple these two things together. Yeah, I took out the little coupler thing in here, and that's because it was making it harder to push it through, and that's because at times it will eat through the PTF E-tube here because it grabs onto it, and when you're jerking it back and forth, it will eventually cause some friction against the filament path. So I took that out. I leave it in there, but I think what I'm going to do is just get a longer PTF E-tube and have one go through here, drill a hole through this bit, and have it go back on the back here onto this bit here. So this way I don't need two separate ones, and I can just skip the filament runout sensor because I don't print anything. You can't really print anything that's going to require that filament runout sensor anyways. But yeah, that's that mod here, the top riser with the LED. Now I did get their own LED light, and it's mounted to the side. It's not where they recommend to mount it, and that's because I also have an auxiliary fan. Now the problem with having these two combined is that the top of the auxiliary fan here, the shroud, covers so much of the light that the LED is useless. So this is a useless addition if you're going to get the auxiliary mod. But with that said, if you get the light, you need to unplug the lights from the power supply. And by the way, not the power supply, this light here from the power supply. They don't provide any instructions on either the side spool holder or even the LED light. Nothing, zero, zilch. I looked at the blog, I looked at all this stuff. I can't seem to find anything about that. So they don't even tell you what you're supposed to do, put the wires at, because there's nowhere on the board left. The auxiliary fan mod. Don't do this unless you want to listen to a very loud printer. I'll play that.
And now for the glorious, glorious sound of turning this on. This is loud.
And the reason why I say that is because it takes your motherboard fan, which is the loudest fan in here, and then turns it from a partially on state to an always on state. And it is extraordinarily loud when you have this all open with this thing flying around and the fans going on. You have the auxiliary fan going and the fan on the print head going. It's really, really loud. It's good for engineering grade prints because you keep more consistent heat, or the heat is better like distributed in the housing of this than if you were to just have no auxiliary fan. So that's good. It also helps in some edge cases if you have a really long bridging, but the bridging needs to be like across this way, not the other way, because the fan can't really blow in that direction. That's about it. I don't think it's worth it. The light, maybe it could be useful, but I'd rather opt for getting this one because this actually does a better job. Because it's on top, it shines all the way down, and there's more light. Even though this is only 5 volts, this LED light here, 24 volts. The side spool holder, 0 instructions on what screws go to where. There's different size screws here. So, like for example, there's screws that you use for the I don't know what the spinny thing here, and it barely spins at all, so it's not really useful then. But the other thing is that the spool holder, or not spool holder, the filament runout sensor. Hopefully I got the shot here, but basically I had to print out something for that to get it to try to hold these things together, because there's nothing to couple. It's just ridiculous, again, on the design of some of these things that is there with that. So yeah, and I don't have the camera module. I may get it, but the problem is that their camera module that they designed is for their 3rd generation of this printer. If you get this printer, the 210. The problem with that is you do need to drill holes into your metal here. So if you don't have anything to drill into sheet metal, you're not going to be able to mount that. So I don't know if I'm going to get that camera system. And even then, you can't properly install it because, like I said, the problem with the Debian and Armbian repository links are broken right now.
Anyways, the distribution issue of upgrading and installing it for the camera module, I'm going to say this. Um, you can disable the Armbian repository. Do not upgrade because it may get rid of some packages that could brick your thing. And you can pull out the EMMC module and reflash it and stuff like that, but it's not ideal. Armbian doesn't have an archive system like Debian does, so you can upgrade the or change the Debian repository listings to .archive instead of .deb, and that works just fine. But Armbian literally just deleted all of Buster's repository stuff, so there's no way to upgrade it. There's you're kind of stuck with whatever packages is there, being annoyed to that. And if you try to upgrade from Debian Buster or Armbian Buster to version 11 or 12, you're gonna have an issue with Clipper because Clipper is based on like the GC libs and everything else that's for that distribution of that version, and you can't recompile Clipper because Kingroon doesn't give you any way to do that.
Kingroon comes up with some type of solution. So that's that. There's not really much else to say about this. I really, really like this as a printer. I just don't like the company. One other thing I will say in caution is that do not print in carbon fiber anything, and that's simply because carbon fiber will eat away. It is like a rusting type of material at your rods here, and the rods are $50 for two. So if you're printing a lot of carbon fiber, you're going to be spending 50 bucks every 6 months to a year replacing these things here because it will eat away at the rods. It's not like ABS where it leaves particulates everywhere. It will literally eat away at the metal there. So you're not, while it's something I really, really wanted to print in, I'm not going to avoid it. I have printed in polycarbonate. That is one of the more difficult ones to print in. This thing has done a phenomenal job at it. I cannot complain about that. I've printed in ABS, obviously, it works out great. It's just a really good printer, but the company behind it is just, they need to step up to do some better due diligence on their part, keeping up with customer support, providing longer term things like, by the way, the last week this thing's been broken, nobody can install this camera module. Put out some statement or something saying, hey, we're going to look into this, like some promise to something, because I don't know if I don't get an email, months after I send it. How am I supposed to trust this company to even do something as simple as provide us instruction on how to update the distribution list for this here, or give us some way to, you know, upgrade the Clipper version to be able to upgrade the Debian distribution on this thing, so we're not stuck with a broken system.